Welcome back to ChatterBeans, where every cup holds a story. This is the podcast where I sit down with real people, all with real stories from every walk of life. Today, I'm sitting down with the incredibly talented Mare Anderson, a fashion designer, entrepreneur, and creative mind behind a growing bridal brand. Mare shares her journey from rural Tennessee to the bustling streets of London, opening up about the cultural shifts, the challenges of settling in, and the beauty of building a community in a new city. We dive into her passion for fashion, the artistry behind bridal design, and how rejection can sometimes be the best form of redirection. Plus, we chat about London's coffee culture, personal growth, and the excitement of embracing the unknown. If you've ever wondered what it's like to start afresh in a new country, chase a creative dream, or navigate life's uncertainties with curiosity and resilience, this episode is for you. Get your coffee, get comfy, and let's dive in. So, Mare, what's your surname?
Anderson.
Anderson.
It always throws me off surname because I'm like, you mean last name?
Surname, last name.
No, you know what cracked me up
Go on.
this week? I haven't heard this in my almost 2 years of living here. Someone was like, do you have a dressing gown? And I lost it.
You'd never heard of dressing gown?
I was like, do you mean a robe? A bathrobe? I was just sat there laughing for a good minute.
Really?
I was just like, oh yeah. Some English lingo is very old school. I think it's
Dressing
because
gown.
England's such an old country.
Yes.
But it made me chuckle.
Robe. I've never
Robe.
said a robe.
I would laugh so hard if I was like, hey, can I borrow a dressing gown to get I need a dressing gown when I get out of the shower.
Dressing gown. Anyway, Mare, welcome to ChatterBeans. Good start.
Great start.
Welcome to ChatterBeans. Usually we need to get past this point.
Yeah. Okay.
It's all good. Don't worry. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Super excited to be here.
Are you?
I feel like we are just having a little chat.
Just
It's
chat.
fun.
Just imagine when in a busy coffee shop. That's
Yeah.
kind of the vibe I wanted to go for. Although a bit more cozy. This would
Yeah.
be my vibe. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for inviting me.
Are you good?
Yeah. This
Ready
is my
to get
first
going?
podcast.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the last.
Hopefully.
Tell us about you. Tell us about life. Where are you in life? Where have you come from? Anywhere you want to start.
Okay. Well, I'm coming up on 2 years of living here. So in June, which is crazy because I feel like I just moved here, but also at the same time, I feel like I've been here for a while. So that's really exciting because I feel really settled and I feel like I have a great community of friends and people in my creative space, and it just feels really special.
Yeah.
I think the first 9 months of being here were so challenging, just of moving to a new city, connecting with a new part of myself that,
Yeah.
I haven't been before because you're in a new country, you're in a new city, new people, everything's new. So it feels really nice to kind of be on the other side where I'm a little bit settled in. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I have my favorite coffee shop and I have restaurants that I recommend. And I
I
know
go
where to
here.
take my friends. To be
Yeah.
like, yeah, come visit me. I have some friends that are coming the end of this month and in
Yeah.
April and in May, which I'm super excited
Nice.
about. And I'm like, yeah, let's go around London town.
It's perfect. And you feel calm. You feel settled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think living in London means there's always going to be chaos, but I feel like I know how to manage the chaos.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that you're always on your feet, you're always thinking,
Yes.
but I feel like I can also come back to my flat,
Yeah.
chill out, and be like, okay.
Amazing.
And then I'm ready for the next day. I'm like, let's go.
Let's go again.
You never know what's going to get thrown at you in London.
Totally.
I think that's just part of the excitement,
Yeah.
but it's also really addicting.
2 years has gone quick.
Yeah.
I remember when you first came. I think we'd met a month into your time in London. So it's quite nice to see how you've developed, I suppose. And we'll talk about your job and your career bits in a minute. Where are you from? And what are the differences, I suppose, in where your hometown
Ooh.
is to here?
So I'm originally from a small town in Tennessee, rural Tennessee, Tullahoma, Tennessee. Small town, grew up on a small farm. So I was around chickens, goats, cats, dogs, a horse. Had a big garden, grew up with a lot of siblings, and so it's quite a juxtaposition to now living in London and having this
Yeah.
city life. But yeah, I grew up in rural Tennessee, and then I went to uni, college for the Americans, in Nashville. And even though Nashville is only an hour and a half from where I'm from, um, moving from such a small town in Tennessee to Nashville felt so exciting and
Did
was
it?
like, "Oh, I'm in the big city." Like I knew Nashville was like a not a huge city, but
Yeah.
when you're going from somewhere that's so small to a place like Nashville, it feels really exciting. Loved my time there at school, and I was always kind of in my head on track to go to New York. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna move, but I'm gonna move after college.
Yeah.
And then I'd gotten a scholarship to study abroad here in London right before I graduated.
Okay.
And so I spent 12 weeks here over the summer. It was summer 2022. So it was when it was really hot. And I was like, wow, the weather here is beautiful. It was sunny. I was like, I'm not
Yeah.
even wearing my London fog trench coat that much. Like, this is great weather. I love it.
Yeah,
And
unusual.
little did I know.
Exactly.
Um, and so I met some really cool people here. I fell in love with just like the English culture. Loved that I was very close to Europe. I mean, I never traveled to Europe when I was studying here, but I was
Okay.
like, I could.
Yeah.
Could just jump on the train. And so after my study abroad, I was like, I'm gonna move back to London. And then 9 months later, I moved. June
Yeah.
2023.
So was it from that moment, like visiting in the summer, that you were like, I want to live here for a while. I want to make the move out of the US?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was that summer. It was like, that's gonna be one of those summers that I feel like when I'm old, I'll be like, yeah, summer 2022.
Yeah. You'll always remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Had you had ambitions when you were much younger, like growing up in the US?
Yeah.
So
In
like
what realm?
to like leave the US long term, or do you just think like that's your home, like your siblings are there, your family's there?
That's a good
What was the moment?
question. Um, so my older siblings had always traveled a lot.
Okay.
And I really loved hearing all of their stories of traveling abroad. I remember seeing my one of my sister and brother's passports just with stamps, and I was like,
Really?
I'm gonna have that one day.
Yeah.
And one of my sisters invited me to come with her to a furniture exposition, furniture like interior design in Milan, right before I graduated from high school.
Wow.
And so that was my first time in Europe. And that's how I got the Europe bug. And I told myself, I'm going to move. At the time, I was like, Italy, I'm going to learn Italian. Like, that's where I'm going to move. And then I was lucky enough to come back to Europe during college. I went to France with my sister again. It's another trip with her. And I remember journaling, like, I don't know how, I don't know when, and don't know what it looks like, but I'm going to move to Europe
Yeah.
after college.
Yeah.
Had no idea where it would be. Was still kind of thinking Europe, not the UK. Americans, I associated the UK with Europe, but
Yeah.
now understand with Brexit and everything. It's like
Yes.
Europe, UK.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I didn't really think anything of it because I was so set on wanting to move to New York. Um, and then that summer abroad, I just fell in love with London, and I
Yeah.
loved all the people that I was meeting in the creative industry, people at the school. I was dating this really great guy. I met this designer that's been a huge part of my journey here. And I just was like, I think this is the place I need to be. And I felt a real peace about it. For
Really.
some reason, it felt easier to move to a different country and continent than up a few states.
Really.
And I don't know if that's because once you form some relationships in a city, it's like, okay, I have a few people, I can do this. Yeah. So I think it started probably in high school, the romanticization
Really.
of Europe.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it would be this soon. I thought I'll do New York, I'll be in Europe in my 30s or something.
Really.
So who knows? Maybe it would be the reverse.
Yeah,
Or maybe I'll stay
exactly.
here forever. I don't know.
Well, I'm interested in that because you've been here a couple of years. So I guess let's start off with some of the struggles. So what are some of the
Mm.
big things that you maybe miss about home or just struggled with London? Because it's not an easy place,
Yeah.
you know.
I laugh at this one because I talk about it every day, but the weather.
The weather. Yeah.
It's real. The British people do talk about the weather every day. And now I do as well.
We do.
Every day I'll be like, oh, it's cloudy. What a surprise. Or, oh my gosh, the sun's been out for 5 days in a row.
It's literally
Life's
the
good.
thing that if there's ever something like an awkward silence, it's like, just talk about the weather,
Yeah,
right?
always a safe bet.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about it even with people that I'm good friends with. I'll be like, wow, what a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Um, no, but the weather was hard because the summer that I moved, so June 2023, I felt like it was really cold. And I was like,
Yeah.
wait, last summer was so warm. And I was a little bit like, okay, so it's actually really cloudy. And you don't realize how much that affects you because I'm from the South. It's sunny a good amount of the year.
Really?
Even during the winter, it can be a little bit cloudy
Oh,
or like
wow.
really cold, but the sun still comes out. You have more clear days than not, I'd say.
Okay.
So my first winter was probably the most brutal winter of my life so far. I don't know, that sounds dramatic, but it was intense because the short days are
Yeah.
really
And
short.
they are short.
Yeah. So weather, but we've gotten over that now because you just learn how to romanticize the cloudiness and the rain.
Yeah.
Um,
I quite like the winter though.
there's something cozy about it.
It's cozy, right?
Yeah.
And it works with the UK's vibe, I suppose.
Yeah. I think if you can tap into getting yourself as cozy and just like having something that you really enjoy doing, a little wintertime hobby, and accepting it and not fighting it,
Yeah.
then it's bearable. It's doable.
Definitely. Okay. Some of the things you missed then.
Mm,
Well, you still might miss.
yeah. I definitely miss being close to my family. Even if I, was in Nashville, hour and a half away. Prior to that, I was in Austin with my sister. So, 3-hour flight from home.
Yeah.
There's something that you just feel deeply about being so far away. And sometimes you don't feel it as much, and then it'll just be days, especially when you're like all cozied up in bed and it hits. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so far away from everyone. It's a weird spatial thing where I'm like, no, I'm not just a flight, but I'm like an ocean apart.
Yeah.
And I think getting used to when, your day's ending, they're in the middle of the day, and it's really weird when it's like different. You're going through life at different paces.
Yes.
Um, but also there is something kind of nice about that because I can like be winding down and someone's starting their day. So I don't know. It's
It's
a
quite
weird
crazy to
one.
think about, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Family then. Have you been back to see them since you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I went back last May, and then I have another upcoming trip this May.
Nice.
So May, like springtime in Tennessee, is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's so pretty.
Yeah. What are some of the big things? Like, what does it look like? Tell me.
Tennessee is very luscious. There's so many trees. So when you're driving on the highway, you're just like, um, I don't know, surrounded by lusciousness. Is that a
Yeah.
word?
Yeah.
And it's just so
Is
green.
it?
And you have clear blue skies.
No tall
And
buildings. Some.
no.
No.
I mean, in Nashville you have some, but it's
Yeah.
like they're not huge.
Yeah.
Especially where I'm from, rural Tennessee, we have no tall buildings. It's really pretty, and when you just like go out to the lake or something, like it's
Yeah.
so fun.
Yeah.
My parents and one of my brothers really enjoy paddle boarding, and we're
Oh, yeah,
like a
nice.
10-minute drive from a really nice big lake, and it's just so perfect. Get your little sun hat on,
Oh, it
swimsuit,
sounds
and you go.
ideal.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It must. Is it hard then visiting to then, that day that you're coming back to London, or is it just like, yeah, it's great, but my home right now is London? Is that how you
I
see
think
it?
I think it's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I
Yeah.
really enjoy my time there, but then there's something where I'm like, okay, I'm ready for the fast pace of London again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, I think I definitely appreciate the country more the older I get because it's really nice when you can just walk outside into this big yard. Y'all would call it a garden. Big big yard, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can like touch grass, and like
Yes.
where my family's from, we're like surrounded by trees and there's so much privacy, and you're like, I feel so connected and grounded,
Yeah.
and that's so nice. And I think when you're always like on in a city, you're kind of like, oh, I crave that. And then
Yeah.
after I've been there for a while, I'm like, I crave being constantly go, 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 go,
Yeah.
go.
So tell us why you came to London. What's the long-term goal, like
Mhm,
your career, maybe some of your work that you're now doing?
mhm.
Was that always in your mind?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I went to school for fashion design. And when I decided to go, I didn't know exactly which route I wanted to do. I'm the type of person that every week I want to be someone new. I want to try something else. I always tell people, I'm like, I'm the most fickle person I know, but at least I own it.
Exactly.
Um,
And why not?
and it keeps life exciting.
Yeah.
But when I was first studying, I knew that ultimately I want to start my own business. Didn't know
Okay.
what that looked like, but I love designing. I love connecting with people. I
Yeah.
love making beautiful things.
Okay.
Um,
Like
and
clothing or
mhm,
yeah.
yeah. So I have been sewing for 15 years now. And that's my favorite part of design is the construction and taking something from your mind,
Yeah.
making it into three-dimensional
That's
piece
crazy.
of art, clothing.
What's the thing you're most impressed by that you've made?
There's a lot of different things that I've loved making. Um, I'm currently designing a wedding dress, and I have the toile, which is like the mock-up. It's a, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Prototype?
Yes, prototype. I was like, how do I explain this? So it's the prototype of what the dress will be. So you use
Okay.
it for fit purposes.
Yeah.
And it's been so fun seeing it come together. And I had the first fitting with my client last week, and it was so special. So
Yeah.
even though that's a work in progress, that might be one of my favorite
Really?
things.
Yeah.
But in college, I had a senior collection, which we did at the end of our final year, and that was really rewarding because it was this 8-piece collection. It was an androgynous collection, and I used secondhand materials throughout the
Yeah.
process. So it was
Wow,
really
okay.
nice to like go thrifting and find old curtains and tablecloths and like dye things and like use fabrics from dresses and like incorporate that into the design
Yeah.
process. Um, so two very different
Totally.
genres
Yeah.
of fashion there, but yeah, I don't know if I could.
Have you always wanted to design and do something creative?
Yeah. I think before I went to design school, I was a little bit more maybe a little bit more technical because
Okay.
I loved sewing, I loved the construction.
Yeah.
I would use commercial patterns. If anyone sews, like Simplicity, McCall's are very common like brands of commercial patterns that is a pattern someone else has designed and then you
Yeah.
just use it and you
O-
sew it.
Okay.
So I loved that aspect. And then when I went to design school, I felt like I really learned the principles of design and creating, and it was cool to bring the analytical side of being
Yeah.
a really talented seamstress into designing and learning how to sketch and turn those sketches into my own designs and like
Yeah.
learn a little bit more of the creative side of it
Yeah. Yeah.
because I think that I've always been creative, but I haven't always known how to put it into practice.
Yes. So is it when you come to London, you've had some opportunities? How have you done that?
So, when I was studying here, I interned with this amazing upcycling designer. His name's Herbie Minsaw, and he is just an incredible person, first and foremost. Really fun guy to talk to,
Yeah.
friend that I consider now.
Nice.
And I met him at Portobello Market through a professor at the school that I went to. And he's been selling vintage at Portobello for years. And during the pandemic, he had an overstock of vintage pieces that he didn't want to discard. And so he started upcycling. And the designs are so cool. They're very unique, very, um, I don't know how to explain it. It has a very London vibe, but it's also like very Herbie. So
Okay.
if you look up him on Instagram
Yeah.
and you see some designs, I
I
feel
will.
like you'll get that feeling.
Yeah.
And so I started interning with him and was just learning so much about repurposing because he has a really distinct way of upcycling and using secondhand pieces and how he
Okay.
designs.
Yeah.
So that was a really great opportunity to keep learning how to incorporate existing materials into design. And so at the end of the summer, he told me, if you come back, I have work for you. And I would love to have you around the studio to keep designing. And so that was my first in design here in London.
So do you think being in London is really the place right now. Obviously, because when people talk about fashion, right, and designing and creative, they think New York or London.
Mhm.
So you really think that move has been great for you, right?
Yeah.
Like to meet the connections, yeah, meet people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I think one of my favorite aspects of London is there is so many opportunities here and so many people that want to have you in their collaborative space.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a very collaborative city.
You do.
I think so.
Wow.
What do you think?
I mean, obviously, I'm in a different space, so I
Mhm.
wouldn't say making a podcast is perhaps collaborative and
Mhm.
creative, and maybe I'm actually starting to see that a little bit more with the podcast space. But yeah, I feel like sometimes it can be dog eat dog, like people are a bit closed
Mm.
off. But maybe that's just a very different industry that I'm not used to. So it's
Mhm.
quite nice. It's quite refreshing to hear that about
Yeah.
London, because you often hear the negative side, which is everyone's out for themselves. I'm glad that it's clearly working for you as well, right?
I mean, I definitely think that it's just like anywhere. You can find the groups that you don't resonate with, and then others
True.
where you're like, this is the most magical city and the most
Yeah.
magical people. I've definitely been in some spaces where I'm like, whoa, everyone here has a very cold energy, and this is not
Yeah.
it. Um,
Do you see that more in London than back home? Or do you think it's just generally everywhere you've been? Because, for example, when I visit Canada, I'm just like, and anyone I talk to about Canada,
mhm,
the word that always comes up is community.
mm,
Everyone's about community,
mhm,
working together, like supporting each other. But there are some places you say it, it's like, oh, it's cold, people are against each other.
yeah.
So,
I don't have a good grasp on comparing it
okay.
because when I was in Nashville, that was where I went to college,
Yeah.
and it was a very collaborative, communal vibe.
Yeah.
Everyone knew everyone. When I was in Austin, that was just for 6 months, and I don't
Okay.
feel like I was going out there like I am here. So it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
compare it. Um, I think one thing, if I could put my finger on it, that I've noticed since living here is I think that you get a really good read sometimes on whether someone is being authentic,
Do you?
if they want to collaborate with you versus they're just saying that. And I
We,
think that sometimes I've been in environments back in the States. I don't know if I've experienced it here in the same way, but where it's like, we should do this together and we should work on this and collaborate on it. And then it never happens. Whereas here, I feel like people say it and they mean it and we do it.
really?
Yeah. But I also don't know if that's just my luck with the circle of collaborative people.
Maybe it's your energetic personality.
Maybe I do like to keep the needle moving forward.
I love it.
Like, let's go.
Yeah, see, that's really interesting you say that, because I sometimes feel that here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we should do this together. And you're like, you don't really mean it, and I'm not going to chase you, because
Mm,
I've kind of got to that point in my life where I won't chase people anymore.
yeah.
I think I can say it on here. Maybe I'll cut it out when I edit it. But there's been people, for example, that have said, I really want to come on your podcast,
Yeah.
and you'll never hear from them again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, why did you ask?
Yeah.
Why? There was no need for you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a bit of that sometimes. I'm like, I take things with a pinch of salt nowadays, but maybe I'm older and
Yeah. Well, I think you
bit more skeptical.
realize that your time is really important.
Yes.
And I think the older that I get and the more responsibilities and the more things that I'm doing, the more that I really value the time that I spend with people in any like form, whether it's
Yeah.
going out, a creative collaboration, like I really want to honor that person's time, but also my own time.
And what about away from the creative stuff then? So like
Mm.
personally, obviously moving from anyone's hometown or
Mhm.
space, when I came to London, I discovered a different side of me. Are
Mhm.
there bits of you that you didn't know existed? Like, are there bits that you're finding out about yourself being in this crazy city that's London?
Mm. I definitely think there's something about being so far away from where you're from that you kind of get to reinvent yourself and you're like, no
Yes,
one knows me here and I can like put on a different persona
totally.
today. And I think like my good friends know that I'm always like, which one of my personalities is going to come out today? I have about 6.
Do
Okay, I'm a
you?
Gemini. I can't help it. And I think with being able to like put on these different, characters and feel different ways and
Yes.
be in so many different scenes here. I think it's helped me come back to the core of who I am.
Really?
And I don't know if that's going to be too like conceptual, but I feel like, one day it can be very rock and roll and go out to this really cool underground club in London. And then, the next day I'm, finding myself at a service at Westminster Abbey.
Perfect.
And I'm just like, this is so cool. Like, you can do any and everything in London. And I feel like there's just so much to explore.
Totally.
I think people are so open-minded here, and I feel like that's because it is such a international city,
Yeah.
and everyone from everywhere is here, and we're all coexisting, and we all have a reason that we're here,
Yeah.
which I find really exciting. And it feels like opportunities and learning and anything is possible and endless
Yeah.
in a way.
I love that because I definitely, every time we've spoken, there's like a different type of story. So I remember the day you went on a hike, right, in Seven Sisters. Is that right? You did a long walk. Is it Seven?
Not
Not
Seven Sisters,
here,
the other
the
one.
other one.
Yeah, it was, but
Is
it
it
was
Seven
like
Sisters?
it was the Dover. It's
Not the Seven Sisters in North
yeah.
London.
No, no, no. I know, but it's similar to Seven Sisters, but it's
Not
like a cliff like further back.
Different
but
cliff.
different cliff, but same word, different font.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you went on a long walk and you like
Yeah.
walking, right?
hmm
Yeah. So like that is very different to an underground club
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah.
But I still see it as you. So it's quite nice and refreshing to hear that you're just exploring and finding your way. So it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I mean, I think that's the cool thing about life. There's just so much, like so many things to do.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a very I can get bored very easily,
Can you?
which is a good and bad thing, I think, sometimes. But it makes me I'm so curious. I want to know so much about anything.
Do you?
And I think that's also seen in like the random things that I'll do where I'm like, let's take a train and I'm gonna go hike.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or let's go to like a new pub that I haven't been to and go talk to like the locals here.
I get the sense that you're not afraid to try anything.
Yeah, there's little I think that I would say no to.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So obviously we talk about coffee on this podcast.
Mhm.
Are you a coffee person? Do you like coffee? And if
Yeah.
so, like what's your go-to order? Right now you're drinking mint tea, which
I'm drinking mint tea, but that's good because I've had 2 lattes
have you? Okay.
previously to
Fine.
this. So I think if I had another coffee, I'd be bouncing off the walls.
I think I'm on my fourth.
Wow, and you're
Yeah,
so cool, calm, collected.
Am I?
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like I'm the type of person where a younger version of me would be like, that's so lame. But if I drink too much coffee, I'm like, ah. Meanwhile, in college, I was like, oh, let me just get my 5th cup today and I'm fine. But I'm like, whoa, if I have too much coffee, especially after 2 p.m., I'm
You
going to
feel
be
it.
buzzing for the rest of the day.
I feel like I've got to the point I've gone beyond it. So I'm just like, yeah, whenever
You're like, I actually drink coffee before bed, helps me sleep.
I used to.
I know someone else that does that.
And I didn't think it affected me. So mid to late 20s, I was like, yeah, I can drink coffee quite late at night. I sleep normally. As I got into my 30s, I noticed that I was like waking up to go to the toilet a lot more. So I'm like, maybe it's the coffee. Maybe I should stop that. So yeah, generally mid-afternoon is my last one. I wouldn't have it after that. And some people like have it after dinner. And I'm like, that's crazy.
So, very Italian.
Very Italian.
I remember my first time in Italy when I was with my sister. We're like, oh, can we have a little espresso? Because I think we'd gotten a chocolate cake, but we were like decaf. And of course, they're like,
whatever. Did you like Milan?
I did.
Yeah.
But they didn't give us decaf. So we're both in bed like jet lagged and fully awake.
We are not sleeping tonight.
Yeah. We're like, we're not even going to attempt to try to order a decaf espresso next time. We'll just go without. We were trying to be like the locals. Go-to order out is regular hot latte.
Really? Yeah. Any favorite coffee shops?
I really love, there's a cute one in kind of Dalston, Stoke Newington called Mellow Cafe.
Mellow Cafe.
It's really cute, really small, but they have these sweet orange Le Creuset mugs. And so every time I go in there, it's very like
Are they the bright
cutesy.
orange ones?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, so beautiful.
Yeah. And it's
Okay,
really
I'm gonna
sweet when you're
try it.
having. It's nice.
Yeah.
Everyone's there is so nice.
Have you always been a coffee person since like your adult years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got into coffee a lot in Nashville because Nashville's very known for
Really?
like all its different coffee shops and everyone's a coffee snob there. Have you ever heard of a Chemex, the filter
Yes.
pour
Yeah.
over? Okay, a lot of people in London haven't heard of
Yeah, I
it.
have. Yeah.
So my sister actually got me into that. And so at home, I love making a pour over.
Nice.
Because I never used to drink black coffee until I started doing that. And the filter takes out the acidity, the
Yes.
bitterness. So
Yeah.
it's like a really nice cup of coffee. And then when I'm
Wow.
out, my treats
So you
latte.
really do like coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
But I don't feel like I'm a coffee snob until someone's like, "What is a Chemex?"
No, I know.
I'm like, it's actually very chill.
Yeah. I think the scene of coffee is changing and people are much
Yeah.
more into it. And I feel like um, chains like are convenient and they serve their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like I go to Pret. I never go to Starbucks anymore, but I go to Pret
Yeah.
when I need to. But I would much rather find a good, decent coffee.
Right.
I just think, yeah, I think people are getting more on board with it. So
Mm-hmm.
not a coffee snob. No.
We just like nice things.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So thinking about the future, obviously you're, very early stages of your
Mm-hmm.
design, your creative stuff, but like what is your current, I'm going to say current because I think it will change. But what do you want to do in the future? Like what's your ultimate career goal?
To own my own business.
Okay.
I really want to build a bridal brand catered towards the eclectic avant-garde brides. Um, I've always really enjoyed the bridal industry. It
Have
was
you?
my first internship in design school, was
Okay.
interning with this really fun brand in Nashville. And it felt really special to be part of such a big, grandiose occasion. And I think the bridal industry is the last part of fashion that normal people get things custom made for them. And that's
Yes.
such a cool experience to be a part of.
Yeah.
Back in the olden days, everyone had their own modiste or someone in their family that could sew for them or they could sew
Yeah.
for themselves. And so being able to still carry through that art form,
Yeah.
because to me it is art, clothes making is art,
Yeah.
is really special. And so in college, I'd done both menswear, women's wear, androgynous clothing, and I love doing that, still do. But since I've been here and exploring more and working as a bridal stylist too, I keep falling in love with bridal.
Do you?
And so I'd always known that I wanted to start something, but wasn't quite sure. And so after doing a lot of self-reflection and thinking, bridal's always been the one that I've come
Always the one
back
you've come
to.
back to.
Yeah. And so a few months ago, I started the Mare Atelier and have just been posting on Instagram kind of my mood board of what
Yeah.
bridal to me looks like, what it could look like, um, showing bits of my past work that I've done. And so the goal is to build that and to get more bridal clients and design really interesting dresses and outfits
Love
for
that.
people that can't find their dream look in the existing market.
Do you know it is so hard? Like we got married last year and obviously neither of us wore a dress.
Mm-hmm.
I say obviously, but I mean we just didn't. But actually finding something for such a special occasion is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Even for guys. I mean, guys, I think it's much easier because
Mm-hmm.
a suit generally is a suit. But if you want something custom, I think it's really hard.
Yeah.
And there's too much of the same stuff, I imagine, for brides. So for you to be
Mm.
able to create something and bring someone's ideas alive using your creative process as well, I think that's super special. Like
Yeah.
I'm quite excited. I want to see these mood boards. I'm gonna
I'll
have a
show them
look.
to you.
Yeah, definitely. Where do you want it to be? Like an online place, a physical place? Like where do you want to take the business?
That's a great question. And I think we'll see. I
You're
would
open, right?
ideally love to have my own atelier, a space where I can welcome clients in to come and feel inspired and do fittings. Um,
Because it's much more personal,
right,
I suppose.
exactly.
Yeah.
So right now, what I'm able to do is at-home fittings, which feels really special and really
Yeah.
intimate. And there is something really cozy about getting to come into someone's space and to have this really intimate experience.
Yes.
So even though, the goal is to have this studio one day, working with the limited space and going into people's homes
Yeah.
is really cool. So it's like I'm enjoying that process.
Yeah.
Um,
It's even more personal,
mhm,
for sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I would love to have a studio. I think I would definitely like to expand. So be based in London, but have a spot back home as well.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dream is to be here 3/4 of the year, back in the States for a quarter,
Okay.
particularly wintertime.
Yes. But London is where you see yourself for quite a while.
For quite a while.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
There's just something about being here. Like I feel like every other week there's a new challenge that's thrown and it feels really dramatic and I'll have a good cry and I'll be like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But then after I get over that hump, I'm such a romantic. I'm
Right.
thinking I love my life. I love it. I love living here. I need one of those shirts that says I Heart London because I really do. And I feel like such a main character. When I go into central London, especially by Tower Bridge or Westminster, I'm just thinking, wow, I'm so blessed that I get to be here.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I'm open to if that changes, where one day I might not feel that way, but I see myself being based here.
Yeah.
There's a dream that I have that maybe one day when my nephews and nieces are older, they'll study abroad and I can be like, come stay with your Aunt Mare.
Yeah. Come and join you here.
Yeah.
I love your energy, the way you talk about it, and yeah, it's really refreshing because not often in London
hmm
you get to have that energy,
Yeah.
or chat to someone with such energy about it. So I'm really, yeah, I'm really happy just for that itself. Like
Yeah.
it's so nice.
I think it's a little bit of an expat thing because one of my other good
Yeah.
friends, he is from Australia, and we talk a lot about the cultural differences between where we're both from
Yeah.
and the UK, and how there's some things with British culture where like, wow, that's so negative, and we understand where that's coming from. But then it's cool because we have our own experience being from very different places, and we're bringing that energy.
Yeah.
And it is kind of fun to be like, actually, why don't we think about it in a more optimistic way or something that's a little bit more joyful?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you visited Japan recently.
Yes.
What about Japan? Because I think it's a crazy, crazy place, but it's
Yeah.
definitely somewhere I'd never live.
Yeah. Um,
Because your sister's there, right?
no, my
No,
brother.
brother.
Yeah,
Sorry.
one of my brothers. Did go with my sister. We travel a lot.
Yes, yeah.
You see a theme here. I really liked it. The
Did
people
you?
were incredibly kind,
Yeah.
very hospitable. Food was amazing. Um,
What about fashion?
I liked the fashion.
Because I don't know if you noticed, but at rush hour,
hmm
every man looks the same.
Yes.
Every
Well,
woman
I was
looks the
gonna say it's very monochromatic.
Yes.
A lot of grays and blacks.
Yeah.
Not very color centric. Which in London there's a lot of kind of darker colors, but you go to a market and then you see someone that's like dressed in an all orange outfit.
True.
Um, you got like the London grunge, and then there's like a fabulous lady in her 50s wearing the most iconic outfit.
Exactly.
So I did like the fashion in Tokyo, but it didn't compare to London.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very different.
And it's hard because when I travel, I'm always comparing everything to London. I'm
Are
like, oh,
you?
but London has this, or London has this,
That's really
and it's
interesting.
kind of nice because I think with London, I like to get out every few months to like really reappreciate it. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to go back home. I'm ready to go back to London.
That's such a special feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not by default your hometown anymore.
Yeah.
You're comparing it to London.
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like I can be a little bit more loud here.
Yes.
And I liked how you queue up for the train and for public transportation there, But equally, as soon as I got back into London, I was like, let the chaos begin.
Yeah, it's
And it's
very
funny
different.
because you are in Tokyo and you're thinking, wow, we are so disorganized here in London, and people just are running by in the tube, and we're just running on like high cortisol levels, and
Li-
this is crazy. And
Constantly.
everyone in Tokyo's chill. It was quiet. I swear I
Yeah,
heard one siren there.
really.
I thought this is weird how quiet the city is. So I think that I kind of like bits of the chaos and the
Yeah.
loudness, even though sometimes it's like, wow, I know that I could trip and fall and no one would stop in the tube. They'd just be like,
They'd
I
walk
gotta
over
go.
you.
Yeah.
So thinking back to coffee, if there
hmm
was someone that you could have coffee with, dead or alive, who would it be? Why? Where would you take them?
This is a hard one because I have so many different interests and curiosities. I think this is very niche, but Sylvia Plath.
Don't know.
So she is an author. Have you heard of the Bell Jar?
No.
Okay.
Tell
I
me,
don't
enlighten
know
me.
what type of genre you're into, but the Bell Jar, I read it during actually shortly after I moved here. It was
Okay.
recommended by one of my really good friends. And that book just it was one of those books that you read and you feel weirdly connected to it.
Really?
That doesn't really happen for me with a lot of books. And it's just a great story about this girl that's in New York, and it's back in I think it takes place in the 60s. And she's just so unsure of what she wants to do with life. I don't know if you've
Mm.
heard of the fig tree analogy,
Yes.
where it's like each fig is a different reality that you could have. And there's just a lot of darkness and kind of I don't want to say the female experience, but kind of like this feeling that a lot of young women who are like, there's a reality in which I could be married and have a family. There's a reality where I could be this journalist in New York. There's a reality that I could be this
Yeah.
insane artist, and kind of going through the grief that you have in choosing one of those paths and knowing that at any time you can change and redirect, but also like the overwhelm of thinking the world's my oyster, but I have to figure out which,
Which one to take,
which
right?
one to take, because if you don't make a choice, you'll just, well, if you read the book, you'll
Yeah.
understand. I don't want to
Okay.
spoil the
Okay.
analogy. Um, and she has a lot of other great works and poems. And so, based on that book and learning a little bit more about her life, I just want to know what she was like as a person. And because a lot of people have said they think that that book is kind of based on her life.
Really?
Yeah, even though it's
Okay.
fiction.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to ask her a couple questions.
Yeah.
Um,
Where would you take her?
oh, I would take her to Bongo Java, which is my favorite coffee shop in Nashville. It's right across the street from Belmont, the school that I went to.
Okay.
And it's just my favorite coffee shop. So
Yeah.
many sweet coffee dates there, studying. They also do an amazing raspberry latte, 1 cup of raspberry syrup.
Ooh,
Yeah,
need to
haven't been able
try
to get that
that.
here.
No.
A lot of places don't have syrups. And I'm not like a huge sweet coffee drinker, but a little bit of like a lavender latte. Have you ever had?
No. But Starbucks are
Delicious.
doing it at the moment, I've seen. I know.
There was a place that I went to a couple weeks ago near Columbia Road Market,
Oh yeah.
and I got a lavender latte there.
Was it nice?
It was good. I
Really?
can't remember the name. If I think of it,
Yeah, let me
maybe we can
know.
vouch.
We
But
can
it was the
go.
only place that I've been in London that
Yeah.
had syrups that weren't hazelnut or vanilla.
Exactly. It's always the same, right?
Yeah.
They're full of sugar, so
I did try a strawberry iced latte from Blank Street. Wow, that was like sugar overload. I was
yeah,
like,
this
I
is the
can't even
problem.
taste the coffee. I just want just a tiny little pump.
Totally. Big life lesson, bit of advice. Obviously, you've done a big move, like
hmm
from everything you knew, you've started somewhere brand new. Like, is there anything that just sticks with you that you wish you could share with other people?
I think what I've been learning a lot in the last couple months, actually, but it's kind of been a continual theme in my life the last couple of years is to really kind of loosen the grip on the things that I want and to
Really?
trust and lean into the process of it all. I think it's so easy to get obsessed with, I'm going to do this and this is how it's going to be and this is what I want and this is how we're doing it. And
Yeah.
then you have an obstacle that comes in the way and you get super frustrated because you didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
That's not part of the plan. And I think that the more we loosen the grip on these things that we really desire and hold tightly, we open ourselves up to kind of this cool magnetic field of opportunity, people, places, things that you never expect.
Yeah.
It sounds cheesy, but I really believe that rejection is protection, redirection, or you're not ready for it, or something better's coming.
Wow.
And it's funny because in the moment when shit's hitting the fan, it's hard to believe that. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, rejection is protection. But I am a very reflective person and I keep seeing these constant themes of like this time last year, I was getting rejected from all these jobs I was applying to. And I now have like this amazing job as a stylist. I love going into work. It's such a joy to do what I do. And I continually think about, man, I'm so grateful that I didn't get an interview and that I didn't get a job working for these corporate places that I was applying to. Because I was in
Exactly.
like this corporate application process for a while where I was like, let me just
Really?
do like technical design and go work for a big company, which is so not me.
Exactly.
But, it was one of
Yeah.
those personalities where I was like, let me be a little corporate London girl. And I know that if everything had gone how I wanted it a year ago, that I would not be feeling creatively fulfilled right now.
Totally.
Um,
I think you would always come back to it.
yeah,
You're just going to delay the process, I think,
yeah.
because sometimes I'm guilty of it. I think a lot of us are, right? We're not comfortable just sitting in the here and now
Mm-hmm.
and riding it out.
Because we avoid discomfort at all costs.
Of course.
And I think that the more that we can embrace the unknown and to be detached, like really learning to detach from things,
Yeah.
the easier life is. Maybe not easier, but the more we move through life in a graceful way.
Yeah.
Because when you can accept that you're going to go through grief, you're going to go through rejection, you're going to go through something that you have no idea, and it's really scary in whatever realm that is, whether
Yeah.
it's a loss, something comes up emotionally, a big emotion you've never felt, a
Yeah.
career thing, a financial, it could be anything. I think for me, accepting that there's only so much I can do and accepting that that's a part of life and wishing that away is wishing away life has been really profound, but also just like, wow, like life's so good. Had a bad day. I'm going to feel that and
Yeah.
I'm going to validate that, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'm living in London. I have such beautiful friends, connections. I have people that love me not only here, but in multiple states back home.
Yeah.
I have like really cool thrifted clothes. I have people
Yes.
that trust me to make their wedding dresses. I have a job that I enjoy going to. Like it's not always been this way. And even like the last week I've had like crazy things happen with
Yeah.
rent and like figuring out, or not rent, but like figuring out living situation. Anyone that knows the moving process in London and flat hunt gets it.
Yeah.
It's intense.
So tough.
But knowing that, okay, this is going to be a good story. Like most of the things that feel really crappy in the moment are going to be something that we either laugh on about
Yeah.
in, a few months, few years, or it's something that we learn
Yeah.
from.
Yeah. I love that. Such a special bit of advice. Yeah, just really reflecting on my own life, I suppose.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Super genuine. And sometimes people are like, oh, yeah, take this bit of advice, whatever. I truly can see it in you and like you live each day. So, yeah.
It's a work in progress.
Is there something you've had to unlearn about yourself?
Ooh, that's a deep one.
Yeah.
Unlearn. I don't know if this is Is it unlearning?
Well, maybe not unlearn, maybe relearn.
Relearn? I think that like I don't have to know. I don't have to know, and that kind of goes with the detaching. So I
Yes.
don't have to know exactly how the end goal of the business that I want to build is going to look. I don't have to know what the end goal of a romantic relationship is going to be. I don't have to know where my next big project is going to come.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a weird one because it's kind of a little bit of nuance because I'm very like dream driven. And if I have an idea in my head, I'm like, let's go. I want to make it happen.
Yeah.
But I'm also so aware that when I attach too much to that thing, that I kind of put blinders on to these other opportunities and people and things.
Yeah.
And so I always want to be operating from a place of like curiosity
Totally.
and never like, oh, I know it all. I figured it out. Like, and I think there was a past version of me that was really like, oh my God, I need to have all this figured out. And I need to know exactly how to say this and articulate myself and I want to be perceived this way. And now I'm just like, yeah, I'm here. I live in a lot of nuance. I have a lot of
Yeah.
space for my contradictions. And I know I have them. And I know that next week I could have a different opinion than I have this week. But I think that's a cool thing. I always want to
Totally.
be learning.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Amazing.
They say
Thanks.
curiosity kills the cat, but there's like the rest of the phrase to that. I can't remember.
Yeah, me neither. Everyone always just says that bit, right?
Yeah. Anyways,
Thanks.
it hasn't killed me yet.
All right, it's time for the quick fire round.
I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous. First thing you do in the morning.
Oh, wake up.
Okay, second thing you do in the morning. Do you know that is actually the first thing that everyone does, but it's not the answer that people give.
Actually, I hit snooze is the first thing. Let's be real honest.
Let's be real, that's fine. Be honest, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
A guilty pleasure you'll never give up.
TikTok scrolling.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm really struggling with TikTok. trying to get
I
this
love my
podcast to me.
algorithm.
Do
It's
you?
so fun.
Favorite place you've visited and why?
Probably Cinque Terre because it was that was when I was in Italy and it was gorgeous. It was my first time seeing the Mediterranean and colorful, gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely a bit touristy, but I mean, your first time in Europe, gorgeous.
You're going to
Loved
always
it.
remember that, aren't
Yeah.
you? Yeah,
It's
amazing.
really special.
Favorite way to spend your day off?
Exploring the city, thrifting, coffee with a friend, cocktail maybe in the evening.
Wow.
I love
Love
just
it.
exploring.
Perfect. If you could time travel, would you go forwards or backwards?
Ooh, backwards.
Why? When to?
That's too hard. Either the 60s or 20s.
Really? Like
Yeah.
super far back?
Yeah. That's not that far back.
Okay, in the context of this podcast so far, you'll be episode 13.
Okay.
Most people have said like a previous point of their life, but actually,
Oh.
which is nice because I've
Yeah.
never thought about it. So
Yeah. I feel like I'm old school. I feel like I have an old soul.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I think that's why I love thrifting and finding
Yeah.
old things. So I just want to know if how I envision, the 60s or 20s, those are two decades that I'm very fascinated by, if they're like how I envisioned.
yeah, that's cool.
I mean, they might be a little bit scary as a woman going back that far in time. but-
Potentially, but yeah, we'll focus
We'll
on the
keep
cool
the
bits.
romantic.
Yeah, exactly.
Romanticized view.
If you know, what's the weirdest thing you've Googled recently?
I don't know. Should I get my phone and see?
If you want.
Okay. I always have about 66 Safari tabs open. I'm like my grandma.
If you can share.
Okay.
This is actual real life.
Oh,
Go on.
okay.
Go on.
Yes. This was literally just last night. Do you know, I'll show Saint Teresa.
Why?
Someone gave me a Saint Teresa card last night.
Okay.
Yeah, we were having this really sweet connection. They were one of my clients at my styling job. And she was just talking about roses and Catholicism. And it was like this really beautiful, deep conversation. And then we were just talking about like how crazy it was that we had like met each other, and it was just like getting really deep, and it was really sweet and really special connection. And she kept talking about this Saint Teresa and roses, and she's like, it's just so special that we've met tonight. And I was like, oh, did you like say a prayer to her tonight? She's like, no, but like I like pray to her. I don't know if pray was the right word. Anyways, and I was like, oh, well, my middle name's Rose. And she was like, no way. And I said, no, I'm like, it is. And she's like, I have something for you. And I've never been given like a card. It was really special.
There you
And
are.
it has the Saint Teresa prayer. And so I looked her up, and she was this very progressive nun, devout Catholic. And I actually want to read up more about her.
There you are.
Yeah, that's what I was scrolling last night.
Potentially the best answer I've ever had. Thank you.
Very niche.
Thanks for being honest. A small amount of joy that you've experienced recently.
That was really sweet. You know, earlier today when I got a coffee with one of my friends, she's visiting from Paris, and we were just talking about the joy within resistance, and how as creatives it feels like you can constantly kind of think that you're going against something, and you have this idea, and then you get rejection, or someone doesn't like it, or you are succeeding in your creativity, but something's happening in your flat share. And just talking about when you're focused on what you're doing, your passion, and you're like, okay, it's all going to be okay. It's kind of going with that detachment where it's like, this is just feels like a mountain in the middle of the road, but it's just a little bump.
I love that.
And it's really sweet to have people in my life that you can kind of talk about the shitty things that happen, but there's always a sense of it's not that big of a deal, and it's going to be okay. Because that really fills up my cup.
Yeah.
And I feel like in this stage of life where a lot of things feel unstable, and you're like, who am I? What's happening? It's really nice to have those people in your life that you can just come together and be like, yeah, this is life in our 20s.
It's so important. I'm so pleased that you've got that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This has been so fun.
Thank you. It's been great to have you. And, you know, we know each other from a kind of work level, but it's nice to get to really know you and see that energy come through, and like, some of your backstory. So I really appreciate it.
Who knew? A year and a half ago when we first met, we'd be sitting here.
I know, exactly.
So special.
So where can people connect with you, find out about what you do next, where you take your work and your goals?
So my Instagram is the Mare Atelier. So like I said earlier, right now it's kind of a mixture of what's going on in my design brain, mood boards, sketches, different fun things on there. And I'm currently working on a website, so I'll have that posted to Instagram when it's ready.
Nice.
And photos of finished works in progress coming soon.
Can't wait. And we'll tag you in the episode description so people can click that link and find out. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you soon. Thanks. Thank you so much for tuning in to ChatterBeans. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. If you liked this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And for more behind the scenes moments, guest updates, and a peek into the world of ChatterBeans, follow us on Instagram at chatter.beans. Until next time, grab a coffee, sit back, and let's keep chatting.